Morning.
Good morning, Mr. Commissioner, members. You will notice, Mr. Commissioner, that there's no witness.
There's no witness.
There is a miscommunication for which I take full responsibility. Because of the rescheduling of witnesses as a result of the strike, two witnesses were supposed to testify this morning. One had to be rescheduled for tomorrow. Mrs. Zulu, who will testify today, has arrived, and she will make herself available earlier at 1:30. So I suggest to waste as little time as possible that we take an early lunch adjournment. And I will try and make up some time to deal with some household matters that must be attended to before we finalize the session of the Commission. May I, with your leave, Mr. Commissioner, then deal with the lifestyle audit reports compiled by PwC. There were 5 reports filed.
And what about tomorrow?
Mr. Naidu will testify tomorrow. We start at 9:30.
The Lancaster.
Lancaster.
Okay. 9:30.
He has filed a statement already,
Okay.
and he's available to testify tomorrow.
Okay.
There were 5 reports filed with regard to the individuals identified: Mr. Mondli Gugumbelu, the former chair of the PIC; Mrs. Sibusiswe Zulu, former board member; Mrs. Dudu Tlatswayo, former board member; Dr. Machila, the former CEO; and Mrs. Matsepo More, who is the CFO.
Advocate Libbe, if you feel like you want to sit down, you may do so.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I'm going to read into the record the affidavit by Mr. Van Tonder, who compiled these reports. And I would also like an order from you to order that the content of the reports dealing with the personal details of the people involved in these lifestyle audits, bank accounts, bank statements, asset verification, etc., are confidential information and cannot be made public. With your leave then, Mr. Van Tonder is an adult male. He's a director of PricewaterhouseCoopers Advisory Services in Johannesburg. He sets out his experience. I hold a degree BA Juris, and I did legal articles, later in '87 appointed as a public prosecutor in Mpumalanga. He served as a public prosecutor, regional court prosecutor, and acting magistrate. He was admitted as an advocate in 1990. He later served as a state advocate and senior state advocate with the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions in KZN. And from 93 to 1997, he served as a senior state advocate in the Offices for Serious Economic Offences, where inter alia he investigated economic crime. In 1998, he joined PricewaterhouseCoopers, as it was then known, and he was admitted as the director of PwC on the 1st of July 2001. I still hold this position as a director in the Forensic Services Department. The mandate was to perform lifestyle audits and background checks on the following 5 individuals, namely Mr. Mondli Gugumbelu, Sibusiswe Zulu, Dudu Tlatswayo, Dan Machila, and Matsepo More. He had to perform background checks on these individuals and their entities. There was also imaging of electronic devices of these people personally and the PIC client server, and using keywords details provided by the Commission to run searches on the data imaged and provide the results to the Commission investigations team for further review. He states that he did not perform an audit in terms of the international standards of auditing. The affidavit and his reports have been prepared solely for the use of the Commission. He has also included information relevant to the investigation and related circumstances, but cannot conclude on the completeness of such information, as the possibility exists that not all relevant information and documentation was made available to him. The issues addressed in this affidavit are the following, and the procedures performed. The information dealt with in the report was obtained from the sources listed as follows: a copy of ID document, employment history of the person involved, the CV of the person involved, past and present declarations made for the period January 2015 to December 2018. That is the period of the terms of reference of this Commission, Mr. Commissioner. And a declaration of interest, gifts, business interests, etc., bank statement for accounts held at all financial institutions for the period under review. It also included background searches conducted on publicly available information on the individuals, and we liaised with the below listed financial institutions in South Africa to request bank statements to any accounts in addition to the bank accounts declared, namely ABSA, Capitec, First Rand Group, Investec, Mercantile Bank, Nedbank, and Standard Bank. He also conducted consultations with each and every of the individuals concerned. He reviewed the documentation provided by the individuals. He used global intelligence tools, conducted detailed searches on the individuals. He liaised with the financial institutions in South Africa. He requested additional bank statements, identified. He performed analysis on the bank statements received and consulted with the banks and the individuals concerned. In general, Mr. Commissioner and members, the finding was that there was no indication of any criminal conduct regarding any of these individuals, and he couldn't find any substance. And you will recall that one of the main reasons for asking these or requesting these lifestyle audits was the allegations contained in the NOGU emails implicating some of these people receiving exorbitant amounts of money from transactions within the PIC. So what he can state and what I can place on record is there's no evidence of any criminal conduct, and there's no evidence of any substantiating the implications in the emails by NOGU. I must also place on record, Mr. Commissioner and members, that all these individuals, excuse me, voluntary, took part in this exercise. It was not necessary to subpoena any of them or to subpoena any of the banks for their bank statements. They complied voluntarily with this exercise. The different 5 reports will be placed before the Commission, and if necessary, and if there's any questions regarding any of the individuals, they can still be called to the Commission to come and answer to those questions. Then, Mr. Commissioner and members...
Sorry,
Yes.
just a question there before you go. Just in terms of those 5 people there, did this arise from the James Nogu emails, starting from the first one? And I think the second batch, was it the current beef issues and all that? Is that why we are looking at this?
Absolutely correct.
And all of them have been found to be not criminally substantiated?
There was no evidence to substantiate any of the allegations contained in those emails. Then, Mr. Commissioner and members, we have also received further supplementary affidavits by witnesses who already testified before the Commission. The first is that of Mr. Polwane, the executive head of HR of the PIC, who requested permission to file a supplementary affidavit in response to allegations by witnesses who testified about HR matters, and in particular to respond to allegations in the evidence of Mr. Motemele, Diamond Motemele, who testified before the Commission. There's also a supplementary affidavit by the former acting head executive head legal, Pamela Pala. And there is also a written submission by Ama Bungani that was filed with the Secretariat to be placed before the Commission. Then, Mr. Commissioner and members, we have a report by the Hawks regarding the death threats. You will recall that at a certain stage of this commission, there was an email sent to myself and to other witnesses threatening people with lives, including that of Dr. Machilla, I think, if I recall correctly. There was no positive outcome to that investigation. What is still outstanding, Mr. Commissioner, and that will be handed up to the Commission before...
Sorry, Advocate Lubber, saying there was no positive outcome, I think that's open to interpretation. Can you explain that a little bit?
They couldn't establish the identity of the author of those emails. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. What is still outstanding is a supplementary affidavit by Matsepu More, who requested permission to file a supplementary affidavit dealing with especially the evidence of Dr. Machilla. And we also have an outstanding, we await the outstanding report promised by the Johannesburg Stock Exchange on the Sekunjalo Group, which will be tabled hopefully before the end of this month with the Commission. And, Mr. Commissioner, there is also a detailed affidavit filed by Mr. Maponya, who was implicated, you will recall, in the SA Homelands matter that will be placed before the Commission. Mr. Commissioner, that is the business that I had to attend to, and can I, with your leave, ask that we adjourn until 1:30?
Yes, can you do me a favor, Advocate Lubber, and list the items that you want me to make an order on?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. I will during the period till 1:30, I will do so on a formal letterhead of the Commission and place it before you.
Just a couple of questions there. Just in terms of the audit, lifestyle audit, which parts will we put on the website and which part we are not going to?
Mr. Commissioner, the only part that will be placed on the website is the affidavit of Mr. Van Tonder. All other details in that report dealing with the personal assets, bank accounts, etc. of the individuals are private and cannot be publicized.
Yes, because of sort of confidentiality. All right, and then the statements of Motimele, Phala, and the others, are they going to be put on the site? Or?
They will be put on the website this week, Mr.
This week,
Commissioner.
yeah.
Yes, they are available and they will be posted on the website.
Okay. Yes, and the Maponya one too, yeah?
Yes, Maponios as well.
All right, okay. All right, thank you. Thank you very much.
And I'm assuming in that process, we would get all of these today?
Absolutely.
Because all the ones you have mentioned as having received, we have not yet seen.
Yes. No, it's available, except those of...
That you've said that the two outstanding, but as
Yes.
soon as they are received, we will also get them.
Thank you, that will be done.
Because obviously, we need to take them as part of the documentation that we are reading in relation to those cases.
Correct, Mr. Commissioner.
Thank you.
And just in terms of the Hawks, did they supply a report or it was just a
Yes,
full?
they supplied a report, Mr. Commissioner, that will also be placed before the Commission this morning.
Okay, all right, okay.
Mr. Commissioner, and lest I forget this, there are still some hanging threats about people that have been implicated threatening to bring applications for cross-examination. I haven't heard from those people, but it's still out there, and hopefully we will not have to deal with it, but if it comes to the Commission, then it is a matter that can be dealt with you sitting alone. You don't have to sit with the assistants.
Yeah, yes, thank you, Advocate Leber. And what about a report in respect of the investigations on the identity of James Nogu? No,
Mr.
are we going to
Commissioner,
get some kind of report?
I will try and find somebody to put something in writing. As I've explained to you before, the investigation is now, I think, with the sixth investigator. And there is, I think, little hope that anything will come of it. But I will again contact, hopefully it has not changed hands again, I'll contact him and ask if there's any report.
Yes, it would be preferable if we could indeed get something written down. Okay.
I think even if the question is, in terms of that investigation, the processes followed, who was asked to look into what steps were taken, and why it has been, in fact, difficult to find the author or authors of the numerous emails. It's not just the one. So I think that would be important for us in terms of getting a formal report from whoever has been tasked with that.
Thank you. I
from the
will
Hawks
attend
or
to
elsewhere.
that, Mr. Commissioner.
Yes, we're discussing the question of giving an opportunity to all the other people who have not given us affidavits, who had been implicated in any evidence that we have heard thus far. Yesterday, we indicated to your colleague, Mr. Mohapi, that we'll try and get a list together to say these are the people who must be contacted and invited, if they so wish, to file affidavits in response.
Yes, Mr. Commissioner, for the record, all people implicated have been advised, except in those two instances where you allowed the cross-examination. I think it was General Holomisa and the MST people that were not timelessly given notice. All the other people implicated were given notice. Not only given notice, they were given extracts from the evidence implicating them with an invitation to respond thereto. But I think it's an excellent idea, with great respect, to repeat that to those people implicated, to say they're still welcome to respond.
Yes, thank you. That being said, we'll then adjourn until 13:30. Thank you.